A choice that while walking down the street and met with the requisite fear that they can either retreat or stand their ground and shoot to kill. They have a choice. I find this ironic because behind us in the Capitol earlier today, they were discussing House Bill 954, in which they stated that individuals that were pro-choice, by definition, do not value just how precious life is. Some of those same individuals that are self-proclaimed pro-life in one instance are the same individuals that support a law which allows an individual looking forward with two choices, one to walk away and the other to choose death over life. They choose death. Many supporters of this law will tell you that the Stand Your Ground statute is a self-defense law, and that it's for a reasonable jury to determine whether an individual was reasonable in determining whether or not to shoot and kill. But there's a problem with this law. With this argument, young black males are known today as synonymous with danger. The law allows individuals such as George Zimmerman to use his personal biases and stereotypes based on race, age, gender, and even clothing to profile an individual to an extent in which he could even get away with murder. I come before you today to remind you that in the midst of this devastating tragedy, that it is we the people that have the power to change the laws. To remind you that it is your legislators who put these laws into action. Your sheriff who sometimes has the discretion whether or not to arrest these individuals. Your state attorney general who has the discretion to prosecute. And your judge who holds the fate of each defendant in his hands. And it is we the people that put each of these individuals into office. There is no sleep in the movement. The time is now to take a stand. The time is now to demand the arrest of George Zimmerman. The time is now to amend the laws such as the Stand Your Ground law here in Georgia. The time is now to show our legislators, policymakers, and leaders that we are not a generation that turns a deaf ear nor a blind eye to grave injustice, nor will we allow the enactment of laws to perpetuate violence against our fathers, our brothers, and our sons. The time is now for us as a future to stand our ground. Let us fight for justice, let us fight for equality, and let us fight for change. Thank you.
No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Get your hands in the air. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Ladies and gentlemen, I had my say, but a young lady just came and tapped me on the shoulder and told me something that I had to tell you and tell the world. I want to introduce you to the two youngest members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, State Representative ALICIA Thomas Morgan and State Representative Rashad Taylor. Can somebody say Spelman and Morehouse? They have agreed, and let the world hear us. They have agreed to drop a bill tomorrow to repeal Stand Your Ground. Let me hear you. And to that, this is what we say.
This is a photo op, you see. This is his photo opportunity to advance himself and to continue on his accountability within the system, to gain coalition. He's taking advantage of what is, because this is gonna propel his church. This is gonna propel everything that he does. This is gonna do something for him. He cares only about himself, and he's using this young Trayvon man.
Let me hear you scream!
No, he does not care about the people. He cares about himself.
Don't y'all be eating them skillets, y'all diabetic. You know better than that. Y'all okay? Are y'all tired yet? Are y'all tired yet?
They're taking advantage of the opportunity for people.
Again, let's welcome State Representative ALICIA Thomas Morgan from Spelman College. Rashad Taylor from Morehouse College, and I'm introducing him from Morris Brown College. Clark Atlanta University too, I attended that too.
Good afternoon, Atlanta! I first want to welcome you to your state capital because for some of you this might be your first time. But that's okay, because sometimes it takes things to wake us up, to realize that this may be your moment to get involved. That before you might have been a little quiet. Maybe you got a little comfortable and you thought it was okay to just go to class every day and just make sure that you spend the financial aid right. But we're out here this evening for life. We're out here this evening for justice. We're out here this evening to say stop the violence, the senseless violence on the lives of young black men in America. And I'm proud that we will be introducing this bill tomorrow, but I think it's important for you to know that there are just 2 days left in the Georgia General Assembly for 2012. And while we didn't have nearly the amount of people that we needed to see, I'm telling you now that you can't just show up tonight, but you have to show up tomorrow. And show up on Thursday, because when the bill comes to the House floor that allows 18-year-olds to have concealed and carry weapons, permits, and carry them around this state, somebody's got to stand up for Trayvon. Somebody's got to stand up for all of the black boys whose lives are valuable. And so for these next 2 days, I want you to come back to the Capitol and talk to your legislators.
It's complacency.
And make sure they know who you are and who it is that you stand for. Because I am Trayvon Martin. You are Trayvon Martin. And some of my colleagues will not understand why we want to stop some of these gun laws. But you see, they don't have to have the conversation that black mothers have to have with their black sons every day. They don't have to go to funerals of teenage boys who've been shot in their own communities. And so we're here this evening to say that I am Trayvon Martin, and I do want to stop the violence, because where there is no justice, there is no peace. And so I stand with my colleague, and I'm proud that my other colleagues from the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus were here with us. But you have got to hold elected officials, appointed officials, each and every one of us accountable. Because when we had the Stand Your Ground law in 2006, there weren't a lot of people standing up in protest. But that was then, and this is now. And this is our moment to stand up for Trayvon and all of those other black males whose lives are valuable, whose lives we're standing up for today. And so I look forward to, I see the tap. That's not violent. I look forward to seeing you come back to the Capitol. Because this may be your first time, but it cannot be your last. And Trayvon cannot be. The march that we have today, the stances that we take today cannot be in vain. And we want Trayvon Martin to be the last black male who was killed in this country. And so I thank the organizers and thank y'all for having us. And do not be discouraged. Do not turn around and leave here and do nothing. Use this anger, this energy, this hurt to do positive things for all black males and for all life among us. Thank you. No justice? No peace. No justice? No peace. I am. Thank you.
Listen, everyone on the grass, you cannot gather on the grass. Please, keep off the grass. Please, everyone on the grass.
Brothers and sisters, y'all all right? We ain't got but 10 more minutes. Can y'all hold with us about 10 more minutes? We've had a number of medical emergencies. 5 people have fallen out. And if you're in the Atlanta University Center, we're going to march back to the Atlanta University Center. So we're going to ask you, obedience is greater than sacrifice. So we're going to ask those speakers to keep their comments tight and concise. All right? Who got this? Who was it? MARLON HOLMES. Coming up next, from Georgia Tech, because it's not just Atlanta University Center students Students from all over are concerned about this. From Georgia Tech, let's welcome Marlon Holmes. Let's give him a big warm round of applause as he comes. And y'all notice he got on that old gold and black. 06!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I come to you as a fourth-year aerospace engineering major at the Georgia Institute of Technology, a member of the New Mu chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and the president of the National Panhellenic Council. When I got this opportunity, the first person I had to talk to was my mom. And she told me the purpose of this speech should be, what could you say to prevent the next Trayvon? And I realized the answer was nothing. That's something heavy I want you to think about. The answer was nothing. He was living as a child should live. His life was taken, reaped unfairly, unjustly, for no reason. And there is nothing we can say to justify it. Beyond that, let's talk about what's trending tomorrow. I want to talk about my generation. Generation X, Generation Y, whatever we may be, college students. We all have Twitters. Who has Blackberries? Who has iPhones? Who has Androids? What happened with Troy Davis? About a week, forgotten. What happened with Haiti? About a week, forgotten. Is this going to be another week and forgotten? Are we going to let this be a week and forgotten? I promise you, our generation is more powerful than you can imagine. 140, 140 characters, the numbers and letters in a text can tweet and you can reach 1,000 people. Yes! Never before have we been able to share our ideas and our feelings on a level. Never before. So I'm not going to challenge you to be like your grandparents. I'm going to challenge you to be like you. Tweet 5 times about Trayvon. Retweet about Trayvon. Guess what? Email SAO 4th, State Attorney Office of the 4th District, Angela Corey. She's a lady that's over this trial. I guarantee you we could blow her email box up in one day. That's something you can do today. That's something you can do tomorrow. That's something you can do before the ballot box. That's something you can do now on your phone. I want to finish with one last thing. It's a saying from Haiti. God gives, but doesn't share. And this applies more to just finances. I think it applies to justice. I think it applies to kindness. I think it applies to empathy. And we all have our share of justice right now. And there's a really interesting thing because we can bet it on many different things. We can bet it on complacency because I don't have any problems, so it's not my problem. We can bet it on maybe I should care just a little bit. I'll throw some money his way. Or we can bet it on justice. And I guarantee you, if we don't bet on it now, justice won't be nothing more than a trending topic. Another silly few letters behind a hash sign, pound sign, and some other letters. Justice for Trayvon.
We'll now hear from Reverend Sam Mosteller, President of the State of Georgia SCLC Chapter.
I need to ask this crowd if you could have a moment of silence for Trayvon and his family, would you bow? We need to pay homage to the fact that black men don't live very long in America. They never have. It's always been this way for black men in America. It's never been different. It's always been dangerous to be black and male in America. My daddy had the same problem, my granddaddy had the same problem, my great-granddaddy had the same problem being black in America. Now, what are we going to do about it? Our generation just before me stood up and opened doors and made ways for us. What are we going to do? I come here as a principal of a school. I come here as a father of 2 black men I come here as a grandfather of one granddaughter. And when I say I am afraid all the time that I'm going to get that call that says my sons ain't coming home. Okay. We are going to have to make a groundswell change in America in the way that we address things. I'm wearing this hoodie. And when I put this hood on, you cannot tell who I am. I'm not a 53-year-old man anymore. I'm just a suspicious character. I pull this hood over my face because I'm one of the faceless black men that permeates the streets all over the world and are classified as suspicious by citizens and by the police and even by our own people. Our own people. Our own people. I am Trayvon Martin. I am Trayvon Martin. I am Trayvon Martin.
We understand that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principality and spiritual wickedness in high places. The battle is not just a physical one, it's also a spiritual one. Is that right? And to come and bring us greetings as a representative from the concerned black clergy of Atlanta, let's welcome with a big round of applause the Reverend Frank Brown, the president of the concerned black clergy in Atlanta.
Trayvon! I am! Trayvon! I am! Trayvon! I am! Trayvon! Very often when challenging circumstances happen in our community, folks look around and they wonder, where are the clergy? And what is the position of the church? But I am here, my brothers and sisters, of the president of the Concerned Black Clergy of Metropolitan Atlanta, to let you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are here, we are engaged, and we are going to follow this process through with you until the very end. Because the circumstances surrounding the tragic shooting of young Trayvon Martin in Stanford, Florida, has awakened the pulse of the American public for the psychological and emotional implications of what has taken place, has aroused our consciousness to speak up and speak out against the ever-expanding streams of violence that all too often ends in the loss of a young black life. In an already tense social environment built upon the framework of the divisive political discourse that exists in our nation, we are here today to lift our voice in the chorus of voices with other people of like minds and kindred spirits across this nation, whose sole desire is to arrive at justice. Because scores of people throughout our communities are both outraged and frightened. Outraged, a young 140-pound African-American male, armed merely with a pack of Skittles and a can of tea, was shot down by a man wielding a 9mm weapon, whose past record indicates previous acts of domestic violence, supported by the Stand Your Ground law, a law that is on the books in 23 other states in this nation, including Senate Bill 396 here in Georgia. And I am certainly glad that Representative Morgan has indicated that they will submit a bill on tomorrow to repeal this critical and devastating, unconscionable law that has impeded any attempt to arrive at justice for this young man and his family. This is about what is right, because the lives of our youth are far more valuable than the injustice of the lack of a proper investigation. It does not help that the police chief has temporarily stepped down or that the local state attorney has recused himself. that only adds uncertainty and questions as to why no one wants to take responsibility for arriving at justice in this case. And so it is this non-responsiveness that has led an elevated state of anxiety, which is bringing people to the public square in protest to protest these tragic events. The atrocious mishandling of the investigation of Trayvon's death and the slow process of working to ensure that justice is found in all of this is all too familiar to us. It's a story that is regarded in the value of society places upon our lives of our young black youth. But on the other hand, we are frightened because too many parents and grandparents are fearful that their sons or daughters may be next in a long line of tragic deaths. And I must admit that it also raises my personal level of concern because my 18-year-old son also wears hoodies and likes to eat Skittles. And so this is a situation that must be rectified with all due diligence. This indeed is a people issue. But people of all races must be vigilant in addressing all crime that permeates throughout our community. And so we're here today for two specific reasons. One, to call upon the Justice Department to take swift action in exercising their authority to investigate and prosecute based upon the evidence presented. Because we believe that truth crushed to the earth shall rise again. And secondly, to impress upon our legislators, not only here in Georgia, but across this nation, to take a critical look at reevaluating the Stand Your Ground law, which is at the center of our inability to arrive at justice in this case. Jeb Bush, the former governor of Florida, who signed the Stand Your Bill legislation in Florida in law in 2005, has stated in a speech at the University of Texas in Arlington that the law does not apply in Mr. Zimmerman's case because of his pursuit of Trayvon. So why in the world is Mr. George Zimmerman still walking around free? We believe we stand on the side of right in asking that a thorough investigation of all participants, asking that all pertinent facts be executed so that justice might prevail for hurting people. Because I am Trayvon. I am Trayvon. I am Trayvon. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? God bless you.
Let's hear from Frank Ski from V103.
All right. All the pastors have said it all. So we're not going to talk very long because we overtime. But I want y'all to do me a favor. I want you to look around and be proud for a minute. Just look around and be proud. Give yourselves a round of applause. Look around and be proud and give yourselves a round of applause. See, you got to understand, there are many of these going on across America. And the pulse of America was that black folk didn't care. The pulse of America said black people don't care. So that pulse we have to change. So when you look around and you see all the people out there, how many of you all care? Right. So let me tell you something real quick because I want to go because we're over time. I want to tell you something very important. There's a very important thing that needs to be said. You know one of the most important elections we forget as black folk? We'll vote for the president. We'll vote for our state legislators, our congresspeople. Let me tell you what we need to get on board with. Because if you ain't watching this, it ain't gonna mean nothing. Please pay attention to who's running the school board. Please pay attention. Because obviously in the news, you don't understand that they are closing black schools. If you want to move on, we must protect our children's educational future. Please pay attention to the school board. And you know what? Some of y'all need to run for the school board. Some of y'all need to be on the school board to decide what schools will and will not close. We cannot afford to close a school at all. So with that being said, again, please look around and understand how powerful you are. Please understand and be proud that yes, we've lost many, but the goal now is to save even more. Amen. Thank y'all. Reverend Markel Hutchins to close this out.
There's some organizations that work very closely with this movement that we have to recognize. The Rainbow Push Coalition, the National Action Network, the SCLC, the NAACP, the Concerned Black Clergy, Occupy Atlanta, Occupy the Hood. There's so many organizations that work to put this together. And somebody is going to be mad. Let them be. I want us all to join hands together. In some sense, we still stand on holy ground. We still stand on holy ground. They don't want us to speak. In the 1960s, they sang, "We Shall Overcome." And it was not just a song they sang. It was a mission and a message to the nation that despite the injustice of their hour, they were determined that they would overcome. We stand in that tradition to say to this nation, to this state, we too believe we shall overcome. We're going to sing just a verse of that as another generation. And then the Reverend Dr. Lawrence Carter, Dean of the Martin Luther King Jr. International Chapel on the campus of Morehouse College, will pray. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, believe in my heart. I do believe. We shall overcome someday. Now just hum that. Trayvon, we honor you. We love you. We bless you. Take your rest. Take your rest. You mean so much to so many of us.